Everybody, Rich with Prep View outside the bunker, hanging out in the family room. And as this title proclaims or says, Illinois House Bill 5855 equals confiscation. Now, I am not an attorney, never have claimed to be, but this, in my honest opinion, how it could go down. Now, I don't know over the last few weeks since this went to committee hearings and open hearings. Uh, if anything's changed, if they've tweaked it at all, have they done anything with it? I don't know. So I just want to give you my theory, and then I have a couple questions in the back that I can't answer, and the bill doesn't answer either. So it makes it kind of interesting. But let's get into this again. House Bill 5855 is considered uh, the Protect Illinois Communities Act. And the two big things in it is Section 24-1.9, which is a manufacture, possession, delivery, sale, and purchase of assault weapons, 50 caliber rifles, and 50 caliber cartridges, and Section 24-1.10, the manufacture, delivery, or sale of large capacity ammunition feeding devices. All right, so under 24-1-9, it goes into, we already know it goes into the question of, what is an assault rifle, assault pistol, and stuff like that. And it talks about that these certain firearms will not be, cannot manufacture, possess, deliver, sell, or purchase these firearms, these so-called assault weapons, not otherwise known to us in the firearm community as modern sporting rifles. You can't have them unless the person who possesses an assault weapon or a 50 caliber rifle prohibited by subsection of this section before the effective date of this amendment of the 101st General Assembly, if the person has provided in a registration affidavit under oath or affirmation and in the form and manner prescribed by the Illinois State Police on or after 180 days after the effective date of this amendatory act. And we talked about that. It'd be, basically you're registering your assault weapon or your 50 caliber. So that would make it legal. It's not a grandfather, okay? It's not a grandfather. You're actually, supplying your name and what you own to the state for a registration list, something that they'll know who has what. Okay, I'm sure that's their intention, and I'll tell you why. So that's the, about the assault weapons, and any person who knowingly manufactures, delivers, sells, purchases, or possesses or causes to be manufactured is in violation of this section commits a class 3 felony for the first violation or a class 2 felony for a second or subsequent. And when does that come in? It comes in 300 days after the signing of the bill. I don't think, well, I shouldn't say irregardless, but that doesn't take into effect any stay by a judge, any lawsuits or whatever, okay, which may hold the whole thing. So 180 days after it's signed, that's when you can start registering, up to 300 days, and then it's done. Okay, so technically you become a class 3 felon if in those 300 days you didn't submit. All right, now we jump to section 24-1-10, which is the manufacture, deliver, or sale of large capacity ammunition feeding devices. This is where it gets tricky. Okay, so down further in the bill, in that section, well, basically it says a magazine, belt, drum, feed strip, or similar device that has a capacity of or that can be readily restored or converted to accept more than 10 rounds of ammunition or combination of parts from which a device described in paragraph 1 can be assembled. All right, so that's what they're talking about there. You can't have those. You can't have anything that's got more than 10 rounds in it. All right, so you go further down, what it doesn't say in the first one, it says, except as provided in subsection C, and there they're talking about peace officers, correctional officers, guards at nuclear power plants. It is unlawful for any person within the state to knowingly manufacture, deliver, sell, purchase, or possess, or cause to be manufactured, delivered, sold, or purchase a large capacity ammunition feeding device. Okay, so this is where it kind of grabs all the semi-automatic pistols. All right, so there are a majority of semi-automatic pistols that are sold have more than 10 round magazines. All right, the larger, the full-size semi-automatics can't accept anything that's a 10 round magazine. So that makes all those firearms illegal. Okay, and technically you're supposed to, although it doesn't say it, I don't know what you're supposed to do with those magazines and those firearms. Okay, um, the smaller firearms, let's go into your shields and your smaller Glocks and the Hellcat, your smaller either compact or concealed carry type firearm. A lot of those come with 10 rounds, although not recently, maybe within the last year, you're starting to see those with 12, 13, 14 rounds, depending on the caliber and how big the grip is on that firearm. So here comes the question, and this is where I believe it's going, is if you have a firearm that you buy with 10 rounds but can accept a magazine that holds more than 10 rounds, you have a firearm that can hold more than 10 rounds. All right. Now, those magazines may not be sold, but you could have bought them. All right. And I believe that they're looking at this, that those firearms, those semi-automatic firearms are now illegal because they can accept a magazine that's larger than 10 rounds. All right. So under section 24-1-10, we've been talking about pistols, semi-automatic pistols. But now let's go back to section 24-1-9. Assault rifles come with 30 round magazines. If you take the idea that under semi-automatic pistols, that a pistol becomes illegal if it can accept more than 10 rounds, even if it didn't come with a 10, even if it comes with a 10 round mag, but accept a larger magazine, you taking the idea that that is illegal, we go back to the assault rifles, and those assault rifles can handle magazines that are larger than 10 round magazines. Does that make those illegal? All right, so it's playing off against each other, and those of you that have, or those people that will register, you have given a list to the state of people that own those firearms, and they can come after you for confiscation. I had a question put to me, well, how will they know? Well, depending on, which they don't even say in this bill how they're going to enforce this law, they could go off of FOID checks, they could go off of NICS reports, they could go off of background checks, they could go off of 4473s if the feds will let them. I don't know if state can look at 4473s. I know ATF comes in at our range and looks at them. Don't know if anybody from the state. But just the fact that you had they could say, we believe that this person owns these firearms based on background checks, based on having a FOID, based on having a concealed carry license. They could come back. So this is why I believe this all leads down the road to confiscation, because they're going to look at this and say, well, you can't have that firearm. You should turn this firearm in, though that doesn't say anything in the bill either. But if you don't, we know you must still have them, so we're going to come after them. How they're going to come after them, I don't know. And if the registration, we play back with the magazine back to the registering of your assault weapon, you've given them a list. And I will guarantee that most people that have an assault weapon have pistols. And they will look at that, well, one-stop shop. And we can get in there because we know that they have these firearms, that we know that they have larger capacity magazines for these, and it is illegal to possess those magazines. So this is why I believe this is a extremely slippery, greased up slope for confiscation. Now, the questions we have is that we have to ask, and we don't know because the bill doesn't say anything about this. Does this make all handguns illegal, except for revolvers and 22s? Maybe so. If so, what's next? Like we just said, how do you turn it in? Doesn't say. Are they going to confiscate it? Don't say. Does everybody become a felon? No. Yes and no. There's no grandfather clause in any of this, except if you register your modern sporting rifle. All right. Which gives them a list, which, if they want to apply the magazine requirement to the assault weapon requirement, there's no grandfather clause. How will they enforce this? I don't know. Doesn't say. Who's going to enforce this? I don't know. Doesn't say. And then it was brought up by one of you subscribers to me as, gee, Rich, what about all the ranges in the state? Will the ranges still be able to operate? Well, if you read this as it is, making all semi-automatic pistols illegal, can't shoot those. Can't bring an AR unless you have 10-round magazines. You can shoot 22s, black powder, revolvers, and that's about it. So that's my argument, that this slippery grease slope leads to confiscation. And it's so gray and leaves up so much for the imagination and allows them to make so many amendments to this even after it's passed, that it really is an anti-Second Amendment bill, totally. And it affects only you and I, the legal gun owner, the one that protects our firearms, keep them stored safely, uses them at the range in self-protection. It goes against us, the low-hanging fruit, and it doesn't do anything for criminals because most of them aren't supposed to have the firearms anyhow, and they would be confiscated if they had them. So there you go. Who knows where this is going to go? Who knows what's going to happen to the bill? We already know that the Safety Act is being picked apart in some counties of the state, not all counties of the state. The cash bail is holding in some downstate counties. So that's it. Thanks for watching. Thank you for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And if you know somebody that would be interested in this video, pass it on to those. But as we always say when we end the video, always be aware of your surroundings. Always have plenty of food for shelter in place, or if you need to bug out, and please prep like your life depends on it, because it does. Thanks a lot. Take care. See you next time.